Welcome all who come to hear my tales. This week we discuss one of the most famous cryptids in American folklore, from Massachusetts, the infamous Dover Demon. In 1977, my story began. I was a young boy at the time, just a teenager, fresh out of high school. I heard a few friends of mine had seen something strange and unusual, but this is Dover. We have a lot of strange and unusual things here. However, this one had an odd description to it. I heard the description. I heard a few of my classmates had seen it, but I thought they just wanted attention from the media. I stayed alone most of those years in high school, not really blending in and not really finding someone to even date. So as I got near the end of my high school career, I was planning on getting a job and working my way through life, not really being a college man. One night I was out on the road, just walking and clearing my head. I loved jogging at night a lot back then. I noticed something in the woods next to me. When you're alone at night, you can hear any noise when it's just you and the creatures of the night. I stopped. I heard the noise again. It was a rustle, but it was too quick for a deer. I thought maybe a cat. I remember I was near a large creek that fed into a larger pond where I used to go fishing when I was a kid. Well, there was a bright moonlight overhead, being how it was a full moon outside that night. So I decided to investigate a little bit. I walked over to where the noise was. I heard it again, louder. I made it through the tree line, and there, in a tree not too far off the ground, was the most unusual thing I've ever seen or heard of. It had a large head. The eyes had a faint glow to them, almost yellow. cat-like when you shine it with a flashlight at night. But the only light out there was moonlight. The body was thin and looked to be gray. Its fingers were long, its toes were long, and it truly looked like it was starving. It stopped. Turned and looked at me. And that's when I froze, realizing what I was seeing. There was no features on the face, just two large eyes. No mouth, no nose, no ears, and even no hair. In fact, there's no hair on the body at all. Neither was it clothed. I slowly stepped back as this thing kept watching me. I stand 6 foot even. And judging from the length, this creature was not much shorter than me. It just stood there, watching me as I slowly backed away. My hands up in front of me, showing I did not have any weapons to threaten it with. I started getting a slight headache. I closed my eyes and shook my head. Then I heard the noise. And when I looked up, this thing was moving faster than any dog or cat I've ever seen before. It was like a blur, as if you winked or closed your eyes for just a second, you would miss it. There was no smell. There was nothing to indicate anything had been there seconds before. Just the noise of something running away into the distance, toward the lake. My bravery had been tested enough that night, and I don't think I want to test it anymore. But I was not finished with strange events. Oh no. I was about to get a visitation from something even more strange than the creature. I don't know if I would call it a demon. It never did try to attack me. It just watched me from a distance. And whenever I turned my head, it took the opportunity to run away. I don't think a demon would do that according to their reputations. Needless to say, it was a couple of days later. There was a knock on my door. And surprisingly, I was home and not out doing something else. There stood a man. The man was a little taller than me. He was dressed entirely in black. He wore a black suit, black tie, black shirt, black hat, and black sunglasses. He looked human, but the way he moved was odd. It was like he was programmed to act and walk and talk a certain way. He simply said he was from the government and it's a matter of national security. Can you have a moment of my time? Of course, I said yes. I'm a kid. I ain't knowing better. I let him in the house, offered him a drink. He said no. He removed his hat and sat down on the chair in our living room. I looked at his face. He was pale, very pasty looking. There were no eyebrows, no facial hair, no hair on his head, and even on his hands, there was no sign of hair at all. He asked me to describe what I saw, and I did to the best of my ability. I asked him what it was, but he did not respond. He simply said, "Me and my associates investigate things like this. And you remember a few nights ago, you had some more colleagues from school see the same thing or something similar. Now, I just want to be clear. This does not need to get out to the press. Whatever you saw, we will find it and we will catch it. There's no need to fear going out any at all. It would be best to forget what you saw. And if we hear that you have talked to the press and it's become a national news event, we will come back. And we will have to handle things. It is best to let this go." With that, he stood up, walked toward the door, slowly opened it, turned back, and said to me, "Do not make me come back out again." Closed the door and walked away. I went to the window. There was no car in the driveway. There was no horse. There's no indication of how he got to my house. And that is my encounter with the men in black and the Dover demon. If you ever see it, be warned. Keep it quiet. And don't tell anyone.